Hello everyone, this is a video about a knife right here, and I hesitated to make a video about this knife because I know it's controversial. This right here is some kind of a clone of a Hinderer knife, and the only reason I'm making a video of this is to share my experiences with it. And I didn't buy this one from China directly. This is actually a used knife, so I purchased this one, I want to say maybe on eBay, because it was for a really low price. Because of course for a while I got on a kick. I was looking for knives made by Kevin John and different Chinese manufacturers to see just what high-end Chinese knives could offer. And this was before companies like Wee and Reich and all these very high-end Chinese native companies were around. So the only way you got high-end Chinese knives were if you bought something that was a clone. And so this right here is a Kevin John Triumph Precision Hinderer clone, and it's with a 3-inch blade, so it's one of the smaller Hinderer clones. And I chose to purchase this one actually because it doesn't have any Hinderer markings on it. It's very obviously the design, but most of the clones where it says Hinderer here on the handle, this one actually just says the word titanium, which I was looking for something that did that because I didn't want... I know it's just a small distinction to make, but I didn't want something that would be a direct ripoff of a Hinderer, and I wouldn't want to pull out a knife and have someone who's unknown to knives assume that what I had in my hand was a Hinderer. So I got a knife that says titanium instead of his name, and where the markings are on the blade right here, it says Sandvik 12C27 Triumph Precision Kevin John, and it has the date on it, which is 1 of 2013. So I don't know if it was produced in January 2013 or if they all are marked in a similar way for that year. But overall, the knife is actually somewhat impressive, and it wasn't that way when I first received it because, of course, it was used when I got it. So if you look closely, you're going to see marks on the blade. Whoever had this before me got some real use out of it. But that being said, as soon as I received it, I sharpened it up, and the edge holds an edge pretty well. The lockup is pretty good. You can see it right there. And there's really no play. There's a little bit of flex, like if you really move it, but it feels solid overall. It's just a straight up titanium frame lock. No insert on the frame lock. Titanium scale on this side. And of course it wasn't perfect. When I first received it, one of these handle screws, I believe it was this one, I actually had to use Loctite to keep it in because it actually kept falling out of the knife. Like it would just slowly work itself out. And when the knife was actually in my pocket once, I pulled it out and I noticed the screw was gone. And sure enough, the screw was in the bottom of my pocket. So I'm glad I didn't lose it, but some Loctite in there kept it from coming out. And you would actually, when you shook the knife, you would actually hear it rattle because it was just loose connection in this handle here. So some Loctite fixed that. Beyond that, though, I did put a few drops of Tough Glide in the pivot. And it actually is a really nice flipper because I've heard that a lot of the clones, and I've heard that even some of the Hinderer knives themselves are not great at flipping. But this one, you can just use thumb action. And I'm surprised that the lubricant works as well as it did because before I put that in, it was really not a great flipping knife. I mean, it would be more for the thumb studs than anything. But it's been like this for a while now, so I'm pretty confident that the flipping action is settled in. It is just titanium handles. This front side has these contours, so it's like a machined finish, and both sides are like this bead blast color, and you'll notice some scratch marks here on the back side, and that leads to the pivot area, which I don't have any kind of a specialized tool for tightening or loosening this, so I've never taken this knife apart as a result. And I'm pretty sure it is Loctited in because just when I spin this side of the handle with the flathead, this spins. So there's nothing to prevent it from spinning. And so if I had a tool to hold this in place while I screwed, that would work. But I don't really have anything that fits perfectly in this gap. I'm sure there's something available, but I don't really need to take it apart that badly because the knife works pretty well as is. So it does have the lock bar stabilizer here under the pocket clip. The pocket clip is reversible for upper tip down or tip up carry on the right hand side only. There's a little bit of a spring to it, so as of right now the pocket clip's not really touching the frame. But that being said, it's perfectly solid in pocket. It looks good. It looks like any other Hinderer pocket clip. I've taken it off before, but I kind of like the look of it with it on. And so just the bead blast titanium finish looks nice. The knife overall is pretty solid, and it's not one that I really advertise very much. I often feel bad even carrying it around EDC with this knife because I know it's a clone. And so I've only bought a couple of clones in the past. This was the last one that I purchased, and because of that reason, just because of the fraud reason, I'm not really a fan of using it. So it's part of the collection. I'm probably not going to sell it because I would hate to sell something that is obviously not authentic, even on the secondhand market. If I was to sell it, I'd probably sell it for a very low price just to somebody who I could be confident knew its history and knew that it wasn't a legit Hinderer knife. And again, that's why I got the one without Hinderer marking, so no one in the future could ideally make that claim. But that being said, I'm glad that this type of manufacturing quality is now used with Reich knives, with Wee knives, with Kaiser knives, and of course the growing industry in China of high-end EDC knives. So that's good for them that they are moving in that direction, and we're seeing less clones. They're still out there, of course, for whatever knife is popular at the time, but we are seeing a lot of original creativity coming out of that country, which is great for the knife industry as a whole. But this right here is just my short experience with the Kevin John Triumph Precision Hinderer clone knife. And so I don't know if this is the XM18. I'm not an expert on those models, but it's the 3-inch version with the regular Spanto tip titanium frame lock. If you have any questions on this, let me know. I know it's totally controversial, and I'm trying to get away from these type of knives now in 2017 and earlier. But I just felt like sharing this one and seeing if any of you guys had any experience with Kevin John or these Chinese brands that are kind of out there. I know there's one called Wild Boar, I think. So let me know what you think, and leave a comment if you'd like to. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.